Blender for Noobs.
Hello, this is Dan Nobles and welcome to Blender for Noobs and welcome back to the Omicron III designing this spaceship project here that we got going. This is part 10 of the tutorial, and what we're going to be doing in this part of the tutorial is we're going to be working on the interior of the spaceship a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do a file, save as, and go ahead and make this version 10. Save that right off the bat. Okay, so this is where we're at so far, and I probably, I'm kind of jumping around here, but I think it makes it a little bit more interesting. There's more details that we can add on the ship. We can do little things. I want to add lights and things like that, but I think it also gives us a little bit of variety to kind of do different things as we go along. So I noticed that the interior was kind of lacking here, so we'll do some of that in this part of the tutorial. So one thing we can do, we need to know, really basically how big the seats, the cockpit needs to be. And if we look back on the front view, and let me choose Z, actually it wasn't the front view, let me see. Was that side view? Yeah. I got this little guy that I drew here, and this is like a real, life-size rendition of what the size is. And I think I may have mentioned that I was going to make this like a one-seater type of thing, but then I decided to make it two-seater. Very easy to make this a one-man pod type thing. All you need to do is, take your mirror middle and just move it over. I mean, just make this whole thing, basically the width of it less than what it is. And that's the way I pretty much designed it, so you can, it's symmetrical, so you can do that if you want to. But what we can use this picture, this reference picture for, is we can get an idea of how big the seats in the cockpit needs to be. So just going to do a Shift A, mesh, grab a cube, just move it down here, and just keeping in mind how big he is, we're going to make a chair. So scroll this down a little bit. Scale it down, and maybe a little bit more. Tab into edit mode, Control R, and let's put this here. Go to vertex view, grab these verts, and I'm just, need to extrude, and I'm just gonna pull this up here. I didn't want that vert there. Hold on. Okay. Extrude, and okay, there's our chair. So we can picture this guy sitting in this chair. Is it too big? Is it too small? Say he's standing next to it or something. It's maybe a little bit bigger chair for a cockpit. I don't know. Got to picture him sitting down and leaning his head up against this. Maybe something like that kind of thing. So something, it doesn't have to be perfect, but something to that size. I mean, you can, going by the size of the guy and the scale that I've already created, you can kind of figure out also, how big this is going to be if you wanted to get something like exact scale. Okay, so to make this a little bit easier for us, I'm going to just choose this shield and choose H to hide it. That way we know what we're working with here. And I'm going to start creating the cockpit, the cockpit, or the interior, whatever you want to call it. So Shift A, I'm going to choose Mesh Plane. There's our plane. Actually, before I do anything, let me do Shift A, cursor to center, Shift A. Okay, create my plane, and let's go ahead and do our mirror routine. Tab in edit mode, Control R, throw an edge loop on there. Let's delete this extra face here. Tab back into edit mode, Control up arrow, and we're going to go to modifiers and add the mirror modifier. We've done this several times already. So just mirror object and grab our empty mirror. Okay, so there we have our mirror object. And by the way, just so you know, I did a almost complete tutorial on a spaceship very similar to this. It's a little bit different looking. And I was editing it. I edited it all the way to like part 7 or something. I was going through part 7 and like half of the tutorial, the video had stopped. So like the video capture program that I'm using, if I go over an hour, it gets very finicky and it may just crash, which is not good. But I'm using a very old version because I'm not able to use Cam Studio anymore, which is a free version. Now on Windows 10, I had to go and look for an update to Cam Studio. Went out to the internet, and it looks like every single copy of Cam Studio that I can find out there is riddled with viruses, and nobody wants to download it. It's really sad because it was a really cool program. It was free. But now I'm stuck with using the old version of Camtasia that I bought a long time ago, and really I need an updated version, but it's so expensive. Anyway, that's my sad story. I did this whole tutorial series, and it takes, sometimes between my job and everything, it takes, a number of weeks to do these things. And I said, I just got mad, and I said, scrap it. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to start again, and we'll do it right. So anyway, that, like I said, is my sad story. So this is the basis of our interior. And let's think about the floor first, I guess. Come down here, tab into edit mode, and choose vertex. Grab these. Let's move these forward as much as we can without going through the hull of the ship, which I see we are doing. So we can bring it up, go to 3 side view, go to Z, wireframe, E-extrude, and I'm just going to bring it up like so, E-extrude, maybe something like that, E-extrude, bring it back, choose Z, see what's going on here. So grab this and just kind of start bringing it out a little bit. And in fact, these two here as well. Bring these out. Really just bring them out as far as we can without going through the whole of the ship. Something like that. And I actually want this to be kind of bring that up a little bit, perhaps. E-extrude. Bring it down. This will be like the front panel that they're looking at. Okay. And then I'm going to stop right there for a second. Tab back into object mode. I'm going to grab this chair, this makeshift chair, and just move it into place. RZ180, turn it around. This will give us hopefully an idea of what our chair needs to look like, or what size. Okay, so I have 2 of them. Shift D. Or I can mirror them, it doesn't matter, but this is just like a stand-in to see where we're at with this. Okay, so something like that, so we can kind of see how much room we have and where we need to go with this panel and everything. So I'm going to select the panel, tab into edit mode, do a Control R, and I'm just going to bring it like maybe right here. And I'm going to use this area right here as sort of the side. So E-extrude, and we're just going to bring this back. It's like the side panel that's going to be here. And don't worry, we're going to be tweaking this thing a little bit. And I don't want this to be getting into that piece there. Something like that, but come up a little bit, I think. And let's see, 3 side view. Let's rotate this, maybe scale it down a little bit. Bring it back. Nah, I don't want to bring it back that far. Just kind of leave it right there for now. And then also we can grab this here and let's see if we can extrude. Let's bring this up a little bit and into the ship. Trying to give us a little bit of a panel on the siding here so we don't just see the outside of the ship. Actually, I don't want that to be too long. Choose one front view, Z and wireframe, and E-extrude. Can see it a little bit better here this way, I think. And then E-extrude and E-extrude, and I'm just going to go up into that hopefully so it'll hide it. So now that I have some of these extra extrusions, I can pull them back a little bit better. And also, of course, what we can do is do a Control R along here and extrude this point here. Just grab all these vertices here, F, make a face, extrude this one, face in there as well. And it really just depends on, you know, how far you need to go up where you don't think you're going to see that. You know, if you're going to get a shot from the interior looking forward, you know, maybe over the pilot's shoulder or something, and you're worried that it's going to, you know, the floor's going to be messed up, then you need to do a little bit more there. But for what I'm doing, I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal. So now I'm just taking these verts and I'm kind of moving them up a little bit to kind of try to get our interior there covered. And it'll probably come down a little bit. Got something poking out here, which is not good. Really don't need that whole panel. So I can do X delete face. Yeah, still got something there. Oh, that's the bottom of the panel. No problem. Grab that and just pull it back in a little bit. And steal another piece of that siding. It can go in. So it's just a matter of, it's funny how you can, you know, go to different views and you can see which is sticking out and which is not. But yeah, some of it's still sticking out a little bit. So yeah, it's not good that you have something sticking out of the hull of your ship. Definite safety hazard there. Or at least in our case, render hazard. Okay, so G, move this up a little bit. Alright, not a big deal. So, what I want to do here is I want to Control R, put an edge loop here, and grab these two vertices, extrude, come down like so. Oops. I don't have clipping turned on, which I definitely need. There we go. So this is basically, this piece right here is just like the middle panel coming out, extrude. And unfortunately these passengers or pilots or whatever you want to call them don't have a lot of room to get out of their chairs. So maybe I better leave that piece right there kind of open. Like maybe bring it down here. I kind of like the idea of having something in the middle there. There's really not a lot of room for somebody to crawl that way. But the way I've, designing this chair, I mean, this is the bulk of the chair, but the guy's going to be sitting in the middle of it. So the people are actually smaller than what these chairs look, like right here. So they should be able to get up and at least walk through this center piece, hopefully. But anyway, like I said, you can get a lot more detailed and, figure out exactly what size your chair needs to be. But it should be pretty close here. Okay, so I'm just going to grab this vert, extrude, bring this down, and shift select these as well, make a face. And what I just did is really kind of a no-no. It's not super apparent, but what I'm really doing here is I am extruding off of this edge, and also have an extrusion from that same point like this. I mean, it's just not a good way to do it, but it's not going to hurt, what we're trying to do here. At least I hope not. So just bringing that over. Looks like we have plenty of room down there. That goes right into the floor. So, I mean, kind of giving them kind of like almost a car-like cockpit, but maybe something that would be nice is to also have like maybe a little arm piece come over here that they lay their arm on. That's kind of their main control. Then they have their view screens up here. And in fact, I think because this looks so far away, I think we can move this whole thing up quite a bit. And maybe even make it larger, like so. Give it more of an angle, like so. We just have to be careful because we don't want to get in the way of our shield, which I don't think we're in any danger of doing right yet. So now that I did that, I need to GG move this over a little bit, and might even be a good idea to Control R, put an edge loop here, and we can grab this and kind of bring that down, and that gives it kind of a bevel there, sort of. In fact, we can also bring this up. Might look a little bit cooler. Just, really depends on what you want to do and how your design looks. How cool you think it, is to do certain things. How cool how cool you think it'll look. So that is kind of where I'm at here. Right there. Kind of looks kind of interesting. Maybe kind of weird, but kind of interesting. Okay, so that is that part. We need the back part. So what I plan for this back part, the idea of the ship is, once you go into the back part, there is like a little airlock area that they walk back there, and they pressurize or depressurize in order to either get into the ship or out of the ship. And if they're docked on something and the dock ring's broken and they can't get out, then they have this escape hatch, which is kind of hooked into the same airlock. But then there's very little room in this ship for anything else. Maybe just a few small supplies, but basically just a quick get from here to there type of little ship. Definitely not long range. So what I want to do is I'm just going to make a backing that covers everything up, except they're going to have a little door that they can get through to get into the airlock. So we should be able to use our existing floor here to work with. So we'll say this area right here, well actually this is mirrored, so let's see, yeah, from this area right here it'll be like the door, and it's still kind of wide. I'm just going to move this over a little bit. Okay, so we'll leave that as the door, and then we'll select everything else here and extrude, and we'll just pull this straight up like so we can see what it's doing. Bring these up as well so we can hide them. Okay, something like that. Then we need to go along the contour of the side of the ship, so we need a few edges here. Control R. Just going to make 3 of them. Should be sufficient, hopefully. And I'm just going to bring this back as far as I can, probably right about there. Same with this. Right about there. Right about there. And not quite there. We need this one to come down and over a little bit. Make sure nothing else is poking through. Looks like something right here. Yep, that one's showing up. Okay. So it looks something like that. So we have this piece right here that's kind of sticking out. All we need to do there is, well, for one thing, tab into object mode or edit mode, and can do it. Oops, do it. Choose edges. Do a L select on these two. X delete vertices. We don't need those pieces at all because they are not seen. So we still have these pieces coming through, but we can take like we can put a box control panel here to cover that, or whatever, you know, we think might fit. You know, throw a little fire extinguisher over here. You always got to have a fire extinguisher in your ship. It's code, don't you know? Okay, so another thing that needs to happen with this panel is tab into edit mode. Need to bring it up a little bit. Oh, vertex mode. And bring it in like so. Just to hide some of that stuff that was kind of evident there. Okay, so far so good. Not bad. Now the door, what we'll do with the door is we'll make it separate. May want to make it a little bit, well, let's do it right now. Let's go ahead and just grab these. I'll select C. Deselect those. Okay, GG. And we can just move it over a little bit. Just make it a little bit wider so they can get in and out. Those poor guys are going to be in the airlock, and they're going to have to, you know, in that little room, they're going to have to be able to take off their spacesuits and all that. But it's a pretty compact ship. You know, it's built for speed. You know, just fly like crazy. So it looks to me like I reversed the normals on some of these faces, see how they're dark. So I'm just going to tab into edit mode, A, select all. Then you can come down to mesh, and what you want to do is look for your normals and then just recalculate outside. And you can see how that color changed. It just changed all the normals to be outside like they're supposed to be. Otherwise, when you try to do your renders, it's going to look really bad. Really, really bad. Okay. So, kind of interesting so far. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to do Control S quick save. And let's do an Alt H to bring back our shield here. So we see nothing is poking out that shouldn't be poking out, which is always a good thing. Okay, so I'm happy with this so far. If you want to, you can go choose it and choose T and do smooth, and then you can do a control up arrow, add modifier, and add our edge split modifier. And you can see how much nicer that makes it. And, you know, it looks really, really, you know, I know it looks really plain right now, but once you start like working with the interior and putting, you know, panels and gauges and textures and all that, this very plain looking surface can start to look very, very cool. So, you know, in modeling, it's really important. You got to always kind of keep your eye on this vision of what you're doing that's way down the road, because you can get really, you know, you can get really frustrated doing this if it's something that you're wanting immediate satisfaction out of, and you're looking at it, it's like, I do that so much. I don't know how many people do that, but when I'm modeling, it's like I'm thinking, you know, this doesn't look anything like I want it to look like. It should be looking better. But you know, I realize as you know you go along, it gets better and better. The more you do to it, the more you add to it. As long as you keep your eye on the prize, you know, what you want it to look like when you're finished. So to me, I mean, for just a rough interior right now, this is good. Like I said, we can make little things to cover this up. We're going to make a door, that sort of thing. So one more thing that I'm going to do in this part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you a little trick that I came up with. So Alt-H. I don't know if anybody's ever done this before. I'm going to take credit for this because back a long time ago, I modeled what's the name of that thing? I don't remember. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here we are. It's a I called it a land jet. It's a land car. Let's open up version 10. Looks like the latest. Okay. This is something I did a long time ago. The modeling on it is really not good. But this thing actually exists. It's supposed to be like the fastest land car on record, or is meant to be. And it was financed by this multi-billionaire or millionaire. And then it was bought out by somebody else, and I don't know what they're doing with it. But anyway, this is what this thing is. But when I was modeling this, I don't know if we can see it. Here we go. Yeah. So I had this cockpit, and I wanted to put a seal around it. And I thought, you know, how can I do that? You know, I can model it, but there's got to be an easier way. And I came up with a way to do that. So let's go back to our ship here, and I'll show you what I came up with. Tab in edit mode on this, not that, but this. And I'm going to Alt select around the edge of the ship. So I got that. I need to Shift Alt select this, Shift Alt select this, and Shift Alt select this. Okay, so I think I got all the verts there. And I'm going to do a Shift D to duplicate it. Okay, and with that duplication, I'm going to choose P and separate by selection. Okay, Tab, back in object mode. Now, if I choose in that area, look what I got. Oops, where did it go? This is what it looks like. I have an outline of that piece. Okay, so while that is selected, I'm going to come down to Object, and I'm going to come up to Convert, and I'm going to convert curve from mesh. So I'm going to make that into a curve. So now if you tab into it, you'll see that it is really a curve. Now I'm going to do a Control up arrow and tab back in object mode, and it's still selected. We can hardly, well, I can do Z mode or Z view, and we can wireframe view, and we can see it. So while it's selected, I'm going to go over to the curve properties, And I'm going to change this fill mode into full and come down here to the bevel, and I'm going to increase the depth. So let's Z back into solid view, and you can kind of see what this is doing. It's giving it some depth, like so. But it's making it kind of square, so what you can do is give it some resolution, and look what's happening. So just come back down on the depth here, something like that. We can also go here and smooth it if we want to. Okay, so what I've done is I've just created a seal. Now, you can see that it has a little bit of problems, but it's nothing we can't really work with. So, in fact, probably, I'm wondering if I should, I was going to mirror it, but I'm just going to work with it here to show you. So we can work with these little issues. I mean, it's not very hard at all to fix this part of it. So once we go around and fix that, I mean, we have a perfect seal. And I was so proud of myself when I discovered that, because it's like, hey, I've figured out a way to do something that I haven't seen anybody else do. So anyway, I'm going to claim credit for that just because, I mean, even if somebody else has done it somewhere, I had never seen it done. So I'm going to say, well, at least I created it by myself. And it's something I hope that you find useful at some point. One of the things that practical things that it can be used for also is windshields on cars. You know, you make your seal around the car. Now, when you do that, of course, you know, right now, it's like you look at the resolution. You only want to try to get the resolution as, you know, the lowest one that you can get away with. That way you don't end up creating a lot of geometry. And you can play around with what the different settings do here. I don't usually mess with too much here. There used to be a, it wasn't resolution, but maybe it was this. Yeah, preview. I mean, that doesn't have to be way up there. I mean, I guess it's okay so you can manipulate it a little bit better. But the main thing that you need to worry about is the depth and resolution here. So there's our seal, and what this does, I mean, it gives, again, it's another detail on your craft that just kind of makes it that much more interesting. You know, they say the devil is in the details, and that is true when modeling. I mean, when you put the details in, I mean, you can look at some of the spaceships that people have modeled, you know, look on YouTube and things like that. Some of them are very simple. They don't have any details, and they don't look that great because it's just like, oh, that's a simple ship. It's nice that you can make that, but it doesn't look very cool. But once you start adding details in and, you know, pay attention to stuff like this, like, oh, you know, maybe they need a seal around that thing. It's not like a car seal, but it's some kind of other kind of seal that, you know, ensures that this material, whatever their shield is, it is completely adhered to the body of the ship, so they don't die of no air and all that stuff. And the details that we put on the engine, you know, who knows, maybe I might even add some more there. And then, you know, when you add these details, that's all well and fine. But on the other hand of that, don't go overboard and, you know, say, I'm going to just detail the heck out of this whole ship. That can cause, you know, when somebody's looking at your ship, it causes, like, I don't want to say eye strain, but kind of in a way. I mean, they're trying to take in all this stuff. But again, you know, it really depends on what you're going for. You know, think of a ship like Battlestar Galactica that has greebles just all over it. I mean, it's made to look like this huge tank type of ship that's, you know, it's a battle star. It's supposed to have all these weird things on it everywhere, and it's, you know, supposed to look rough. So that's what you're going for. But a lot of times what you can do is try to get a contrast of the two. You know, you have these nice details that you see in here, you know, what's going on in there that you can kind of look at. And then you have this nice open area that kind of shows off the body of your ship. And yeah, so something like that. So this seal, I need to, you know, of course, tweak it some more, but I'm not going to sit here and spend all my time tweaking this. You know how to tweak it, so I'm just going to come over here and on my material, give it a black glossy material just for render purposes right now. And a lot of times what I'll do on these curves is once I'm done with it, once it looks like I want it to look, I'll come back over to object and I'll convert back to mesh from curve. So make it part of the mesh. Not a big deal. I mean, you can leave it the way it is, but that's just a habit I have. All right, so Control S, quick save. Do a Control up arrow, and let's go ahead and get a quick render of what we have so far. All right, so pretty cool. We're starting to see our interior here. Just imagine when we get these seats correct and get some, you know, some lighting on the panels and texturing in there and all that. The door in there, how cool that's going to look. And we can actually add some light in there too that'll light things up quite a bit. We'll have a black space background and it should look pretty cool. And we can see our, our fake chair kind of poking through the hole right now, but that's no big deal. One thing I do notice is on this seal thing that I'm making, looks a little bit too thick to me. I don't want it to stand out that much, so I'm going to knock down the resolution on that, make it a little bit thinner. All right, cool so far. So in the next part of the tutorial, part 11, let's go ahead and continue on with the interior, and let's start to go further with this and get more detailed in our interior. So I'll catch you in the next video.